Yazid bin Kumayt, a contemporary of Abu Hanifa, relates,
I once saw the Imam and decided to join him for the Isha prayer. He was leading the people and recited the verse Ida Zulzilat, when the earth is shaken to its final earthquake. The prayer was completed and everyone departed, yet I noticed that he had not gone and was sitting and sobbing heavily. I decided not to disturb him and returned home. When I came back to the mosque the following morning, I found Abu Hanifa sitting looking sad and holding his beard tearfully. I could hear the words,
O thou who wilt reward even the smallest virtue and punish even the smallest sin, save thy slave non-men from hellfire.
Abu Hanifa's life was dedicated to serving his faith and Allah. His daily routine would reflect this. He would begin his day with the morning prayer. After this, he would take his class in the mosque. He would then reply to questions which came from far and near. After this was complete, he would then take a session in which issues of Islamic law were discussed. All his leading students would take part, with decisions reached unanimously. After the Dhuhr prayer, Abu Hanifa would then return home, and in the summer would have a siesta. The Asr prayer would then be followed by another session of teaching, after which he would go round the city, meeting friends, visiting the sick, and helping the poor. His final teaching session would be between the Maghrib and Isha. After this, he would begin his private devotions, which would often continue throughout the night. During the winter period, he would often spend the whole night in prayer. Whenever Abu Hanifa would be faced by a question which he could not answer, he would become distressed, asking himself whether he had committed some sin of which this was the punishment. He would then perform his ablution and beg for Allah's forgiveness. Somebody narrated this to the great Sufi, Fudail bin Iyad, who began weeping and replied,
Abu Hanifa did not have many sins to repent. That was why he thought thus. But those who are drowned in sin have innumerable calamities sent down upon them, and yet do not realize that these are warnings from Allah.
Abu Hanifa was fully aware how the human psyche operated. On one occasion, a man came to see him. He seemed distressed.
Abu Hanifa, I kept some money somewhere in my house, but now I do not remember exactly where. I now need the money badly. Please tell me how I can find it.
I do not find this kind of problem mentioned in Islamic law. Why have you come to me for advice? The best course of action is to go home and pray throughout the night.
The man returned home and began praying. He prayed for a little while, when suddenly he remembered where he had put the money. He immediately ran to Abu Hanifa, thanking him for his advice.
Oh, Abu Hanifa, it worked! I found my money!
Of course. Satan could not bear the idea of your praying for a whole night, so he made you remember at once where you had put your money. However, you ought to have prayed throughout the night by way of giving thanks to Allah.
Throughout his life, Abu Hanifa's relationship with the ruling caliphate was delicate. His piety and intelligence had kept him away from the ruling courtyards and influences of the palaces. The Caliph Mansur pressed Abu Hanifa to take the position of judge. He continued refusing, and this led to his imprisonment. Such was Abu Hanifa's popularity that while in prison, students came from far and wide to visit and study with him. Mansur realized the popularity that Abu Hanifa enjoyed, fully understanding that he had no choice but to continue allowing Abu Hanifa to teach, even behind bars. Mansur was becoming agitated with the situation that he faced. Abu Hanifa was too popular, and he feared no one. His legal rulings and fatwas could not be influenced. Furthermore, Mansur knew full well what Abu Hanifa thought of the ruling powers, and that he was not afraid to express his opinions. Then, in the year 150 Hijri, Mansur decided he could no longer cope with Abu Hanifa. Whether in prison or out, he constituted a danger to the Abbasid government. Mansur decided to do away with Abu Hanifa. He had him poisoned. Abu Hanifa attended his last prayer in front of his Lord. Then, while in a state of prostration, the final effects of the poison took hold, and Abu Hanifa died while in that posture. He was aged 70 years. A man that had spent his entire life in the service of his Creator and humanity breathed his last while worshipping his Master, a fitting end to a life of worship and service. Sadness engulfed the region and the whole Abbasid Empire as news spread of Abu Hanifa's death. Thousands made their way to the prison to confirm what they had heard. The task of washing the body in preparation for the funeral was left to the city judge, who was Hassan bin Amara. While washing the body, he would repeat to himself,
By Allah, you were the greatest scholar and the most pious man of our time. You had all the qualities of greatness in you. You were, indeed, so great that nobody after you may reach your level.
The people of knowledge all over knew and fully understood the blow of his death. When visiting Baghdad upon Abu Hanifa's death, Abdullah bin Mubarak stated,
Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on you. When Ibrahim died, he left a successor, and so did Hamad. But alas, there is no one in the whole world to take your place.
Over 50,000 people attended the first funeral prayer, yet they kept on coming, so much so that the prayer had to be performed 6 times over, and was not until sunset that the final burial took place. Abu Hanifa had left instructions that he was to be buried in any land which the ruler had not misappropriated, but he died in Baghdad and was buried there. Upon hearing Abu Hanifa's request, Mansur said,
Who will save me from Abu Hanifa, both when he was alive and now he is dead?
Abu Hanifa was survived by an only son, Hamad, who himself was to grow into a great scholar. Hamad followed in his father's footsteps, keeping himself aloof from the corridors of power. He had no concerns for worldly affairs, and was well known for his piety. Abu Hanifa left behind a great legacy, such that the majority of Muslims around the world follow his understanding of Islamic law. Amongst his foremost students were Abu Yusuf, Hassan as-Shaybani, and Zafar ibn Hudayl. Often, when seeing his students, Abu Hanifa would remark,
You are the joy of my heart and the removal of my sorrow.
Abu Hanifa had around 918 dedicated students. From amongst these, around 40 assisted him in the codification of Islamic law. Each of them was specialist in their own areas. Once, a man approached the great scholar Waki and suggested that Abu Hanifa had made an error on a certain question. He responded,
Well, how could Abu Hanifa commit an error? He had eminent men to assist him. In analogy, Abu Yusuf and Zafar. In hadith, Yahya bin Zayda, Hafs bin Riyad, Haban and Mundal. In lexicography and the Arabic language, Kazin bin Ma'an. In devotion and piety, Daud al-Tayyi and Fudel bin Riyad. How could one, with such men by his side, commit an error? Even if he were to commit one, would these men let him do so?
Often, the statement is made that you should judge a teacher according to their students. If this is the case, then Abu Hanifa propels himself to lofty heights, heights that very few have ever reached. His outstanding abilities and innovative methods of teaching forced his students to think and stretch their minds. His style was unique. He would enter his class and suddenly throw a complex issue at his students. Debate would then occur, and consensus would then be reached, and a verdict derived. He encouraged his students to challenge his opinion. Far from being offended, he saw it as a way of deriving the truth. It was a method of teaching unique to Abu Hanifa's school, and is one of the reasons his school of thought gained such eminence. He was blessed with amazing insight, and was able to view issues in a way that others could not. On one occasion, a man approached Abu Hanifa and his students and posed a bizarre question.